a no for me either. Okay, so do we want to skip? Oh,
So now
we're
we
gonna
invite them.
One?
yeah. So I'll
No. Okay.
invite you and Andrew into the bar with your,
Where would you like to do?
That'd be
There.
best, yes.
you got another chair over there. So you'll have about 10 minutes.
Okay, with that, thank you. Well, thank you for the delegation. Obviously here to speak about the fire bylaw. And I did send in a submission and copies of bylaws from various municipalities that my wife and I reviewed. And I think our main point is that we don't quite still understand why that bylaw doesn't include that nuisance aspect of fires, so smoke and ash. Provided samples of bylaws, and I've looked at many bylaws across Ontario, and virtually all of them. So I don't understand the logic, rationale for that. Chatham's bylaw, for instance, has a preamble which says, whereas council considers that excessive smoke, smell, airborne sparks with embers to be or could become or cause negative health effects on neighboring residents, increasing fire exposure hazards and infringing on the use and enjoyment of neighboring property. So it's a recognition up front that fires do. I mean, most issues with fires, it seems to me, involve either safety or the nuisance aspect. I can't think of anything else that really a bylaw really needs to address. We're talking about recreational fires. The Oakville one is the same. Recreational fires that comply with all other requirements of the Oakville open burning bylaw and are affecting a neighbor's ability to enjoy their property will be extinguished upon complaint from neighbors. And the Warwick, which is local, whereas council considers excessive smoke, smell, airborne sparks, or embers to be or could become public nuisances by creating negative health effects on neighboring residents, increasing fire exposure hazards, infringing the enjoyment and use of neighboring properties, and generating false fire alarms. So, a bylaw, you want to balance rights. No, we believe in living and letting. But that includes letting us live. So if you have a neighbor, for instance, and we have direct experience in this. If you have a neighbor who's having, by their own evidence or their own statements, 3 to 5 fires a week, burning 5 cords of wood through the fire season, which is basically spring, summer, and fall. That produces quite a significant impact on a neighbor. So what we would like to see is that be put back in. Otherwise, a resident of Point Edward would be forced to go to Small Claims Court, assert their rights through that process. And I think if we want to have a community wherein everyone gets along, that's not going to help. What you need is a clear bylaw that's understandable, that has clear definitions, like define recreational fire clearly, define the difference between open burn and recreational fire. And a lot of these bylaws deal with rural situations where farmers might want to burn up stubble and or property owner might want to burn on their property. But recreational fires should be specifically defined as recreational fires, and it should be clear in that section what the rules are. I wanted to also talk about our experience, and that is it's not just the fire. I mean, we're concerned about safety as well, location of the fire. In our circumstance, the fire is very close to our garage, and there are spruce trees between our garage and the fire pit. And I can tell you, have you ever seen a spruce tree go up? I've seen forest fires. Spruce trees are not benign trees that will smolder. They are significant fire hazards. So our concern is that sparks and embers from the fire and or flame will ignite that as well. So when you're looking at setback, when you're looking at distance, I think you can have a kind of a global rule, 3 meters or 7 meters or 8 meters, but each situation is also unique. So I think there has to be some ability for our local expert, the fire chief, to be able to inspect the situation, not just use a tape measure. Inspect the situation and make an assessment of that safety, proximity to the unique circumstances of that piece of property. And I've noticed too that, you know, a lot of the new bylaw talks about clean wood. And I did listen to one of the previous committee meetings where you're talking about, well, if it's clean wood, then that's no problem with smoke. But the fact is that all fire, as we know, produces smoke and ash. It's the result of wood combustion, even in so-called clean wood. You don't see it. I can show you photographs, and I have them here, of ash on our cars. And I'm going to, can I submit these through? Who do I submit? I'm used to being in court, so. So, you have them already? Good. So it's like, we believe in live and let live, but when you have property owners who find this kind of thing acceptable for their neighbors, I think that is something that needs to be looked at in terms of the ability of the bylaw to control these kinds of things. Otherwise, you're going to just have property disputes. You're going to have neighbor disputes. If this is a clear bylaw, such as a Chatham Kent one, I guarantee this will. And any argument that somehow, you know, a property owner can close their windows when they're bothered by an open fire, I think it misses the point. A property owner should, in any season, frankly, be allowed to have their windows open and fresh air, and do what they want in terms of their own property. We also want to talk a little bit about this concept of nuisance calls. Like, did we, through some desire to harass our neighbors, decide to use the fire bylaw just to make their lives miserable? And that is what we heard during the submission at this council. And I can tell you, not once have we ever contacted the OPP or the fire department for any other reason than we wanted our rights, our use and enjoyment protected. I can tell you too, in terms of the bylaw, you need to look at process, because it was very, very confusing to us. The first time we found about concerns with this fire and sparks was on the OPP. Next thing we know, Niagara Fire Service is roaring up the road, full alarm. The crew was pulled out. We didn't know that would happen. We thought an OPP officer would come and just check things out and talk to the owner. We didn't know it was going to trigger a full alarm. It kind of surprised us. Oh my God, what have we done? We felt kind of bad. And my wife went to the fire station and talked to, I think, the deputy fire chief, and said, well, we don't want you to bother you guys. What should we do? And she was told, it's our job. If you've got concerns, you call the OPP, and if we have to come out, we'll come out. That's what we were told.
It's not an emergency.
And say it's not an emergency. So we've done that. On a couple of occasions at 2 in the morning, we called and talked to the dispatcher, the OPP, and set up this is not an emergency. Please do not see this as a fire emergency. Please tell the officer, get an OPP officer to come and just talk to the owners. And that happened.
The police officer did not have an updated fire bylaw, so they did not realize that 12 o'clock midnight was closing time.
Yeah.
So, so that was sort of turned against us.
Yeah, so again, the OPP needs to know what the bylaws are, and I don't understand why they wouldn't have an up-to-date version of the bylaw. The other thing is, every time we've had to make a call, and we don't like, who wants to be up at 1, 2 in the morning making fire calls? Every time we've done it, we've never really had any follow-up. Nobody's come to us and said, okay, or talked to us. Like the OPP officer didn't come and follow up until we actually chase them down. I'm not saying he's wrong. He's probably busy, but we didn't hear from the fire department. So I think in these situations when there seems to be an ongoing issue, you need some other kind of way to get in there and find out what's really going on.
Both sides of the story.
Yeah, hear both sides because we don't feel we were heard. Also, you got to be careful that if you put in a fine or some kind of process whereby it's determined as a nuisance call by someone who's worried about a fire. First of all, who's going to decide that? What is the gray area? What if someone's genuinely worried about a fire, but it turns out to be technically a legal fire? It will have a chilling effect if they're scared that if they call and it meets the requirements, they'll somehow get a fine or get in trouble. You've got to be very careful in fire safety that you err on the side of safety. And if somebody makes a mistake or thinks the fire's a problem, then you got to be careful not to stop people phoning. I see in the some of the submissions, or one of the submissions you got, the other submissions on this issue, someone said they were scared. No one should be scared ever to call fire service or repercussions if they genuinely think there's a fire issue. Of course, if it is harassment or it can be proven to be nuisance, there's other mechanisms for that. There's small claims court, there's criminal nuisance, there's all kinds of other mechanisms to deal with that. And the police could lay charges, in those circumstances. There has to be evidence and proof. How else are you going to decide that? Just on wind conditions, our experience is the wind can come from the north, but because it's swirling around buildings and everything, the ash comes our way. So I don't think that is definitive. I think you need to look at setbacks. 3 meters seems, or 10 feet seems very, very short to us, but you could look at extending that. You've got to look at high risk periods of time, dry summers. We're having all kinds of heat waves now, lack of rain. I think there needs to be times when there's a clear fire ban for everyone's safety. And that can be determined clearly provincially, the provincial fire bans, and I'm sure kind of logical if Point Edward in a dry season might want to consider a recreational fire ban.
So we made our 10 minutes if you want to just wrap
Yeah,
up.
I
and
will
then
wrap up.
We'll take
Thank
questions.
you. So fines and costs should be clear. The checklist, you need to put nuisance and fire and smoke back on the checklist, like the Sarnia one. Sarnia has it. Why does Point Edward not? Why, when you live in Point Edward, don't you get protection from smoke? Fire? I think that's it. We're here in good faith.
Might I also,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, that the fires be attended by a responsible person. I think the word responsible should be added in there because we've experienced that there are very inebriated people at a fire and people who do abandon the fire and go, into their other building. So there's been a lot of that, and we are concerned about that aspect as well. So that should be added. And a responsible person is the responsible person, not one who's inebriated and falling down and
Any questions?
Just on the point about responsible,
Mm.
I don't see that as the word,
No?
because I think that's so subjective.
Yeah.
So it's an adult and you expect them to be competent,
Mm.
but how do I, like, if I write, you have to be responsible, who's responsible?
Yeah, I guess you can't
You
bring
mean?
in a breathalyzer. Can't give the chief a breathalyzer.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
But it is in other bylaws.
Yeah.
A response,
Yeah.
it is in several bylaws.
That's
I just find that
responsible
too
person.
subjective, like, I could say she's not responsible, how do I know she's not responsible?
I think it's
Just the
yeah.
wording, what you want is the competent adult that's in charge.
I think it's in there just to point out that it's,
Right, I know what it means,
it
but
really means let's
I think
take
it
it
needs to be
seriously,
said differently.
folks. Yeah, and that's why I urge us, and don't make it too discretionary on the fire chief. He needs to have fixed fines, he needs to have fixed costs, so he doesn't, what if he goes to the home of someone he knows? You know, like, the fire chief needs tools, and I think if you throw discretion onto him, you're just passing the buck to this poor guy. That's my opinion.
That's always our goal, is to protect our staff. and
Yeah.
To give them the right tools that they need. The other
Right.
thing about people being scared, I don't think they're not scared, they're not afraid of us, our fire department, village.
No.
It's worried about other neighbors.
Yeah.
So when you think about, we have a complaint form, when people fill out a complaint form, they don't have to identify themselves. Because I'm talking about a property
Right.
issue.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be associated with the complaint for fear of reprisal or bad relations.
Absolutely, but we all know that people know who it really is, and that's the fear. Like, you can have, you can say that. but,
Right, but
You know.
it's just
come
why
on.
we
I
try to
agree,
keep
but
it.
I agree. I think the
anonymous.
fear is that they're gonna be fined. I'm worried about a fine in a bylaw that said if we can show it was a legal fire and you complained about it, you're opening yourself up to getting fined yourself or costs. So that's my concern.
And one more thing, on the list, we believe that time should be part of the list.
Oh, yeah,
Past 12 o'clock
should
is,
be on the check.
should be on the checklist.
Because it's not right now. It's just in a preamble at the top.
Well, the checklist is, as we said, is a draft.
Yeah.
I have my own notes and I
Yeah.
have things on my notes
Right.
that, and all of us will, on this part of our discussion,
Yeah.
again, agreeing on.
We see this as an iterative process. We all want to have a good bylaw. We all want to live peacefully. It's for the good of Port Edward. If This is done properly, and that's why I've urged at the beginning of my submission, don't rush this. Let's do it right. The timelines you've got may be artificial. You just do it right. Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Oh, except unless Chief Mackenzie.
Oh, all good. No,
Yeah,
that's-
okay, you got it.
Thank you. for your
Thank you
comments.
for taking the time to come and speak to us.
Thank you.
I know it's a tough one.
Yes.
Oh, I have one other question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You mentioned 2:00 in the morning. Is that,
Well, New Year's Eve, there was a fire going
Okay.
until 3:30.
okay, yeah, I saw that in your notes.
Yeah, and it was put out around 3:30. We chose not to pull it. It's New Year's Eve.
Right, okay.
Who wants to pull out? the
I just
fire
wondered
department?
if
Yeah.
this is continuation since our last discussion.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
throughout the years, there has been fires after 12 o'clock.
No, I just wondered, since we've been discussing it,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
doing it, has it continued
Yes.
at
Yes.
past 12 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna circulate the previous meeting minutes. Is there any business arising from those? So then we just-
Right.
And that-
We just, so the open air burning bylaw, obviously, we're still reviewing that, and then the community master fire plan. Chief talked to me the other day, he's talked to one local person that does that type of work. Looking somewhere in the range of $30,000 to $50,000 to have that work completed. And that's not. we don't have an official quote for
And
that.
that will be addressed in the next budget.
or it might. go to the next.
It'll be brought forward, but
For consideration.
Did we spend that kind of money in the past to have this done? It just
long
seems,
ago.
it seems like pretty,
actually it's not,
it's not?
no. It's a 3-month process that someone's gonna look forward to.
Okay, I'm just curious, it just seems like a lot of money.
How often are these done? Like, when was the last one done prior to this?
I couldn't even tell you the date. It was prior to me.
I'm gonna say-
Ron that did it.
Oh, my.
Oh,
That's a long time.
It's gonna be back to 2000.
My concerns are just that for what the development that may come to our community, be prepared and start to put some things in place.
Do we have a provincial deadline?
No, this is something higher private. This is nothing.
No, I meant as far as the timing. It doesn't go in this year's budget.
No,
It's something that could be for next year.
It's just, I'm just recommending it for
Okay,
what I see coming in the future.
okay, no, I understand. that. Thank you.
That's all that's on.
perfect. And so then the next one's just a receipt and file, correct?
Yeah, just, just for information for council to understand what some other communities are going through and costs of fire vehicles and that type of thing.
Yep.
So just share it for information. Motion to receive and file would be appropriate.
So moved. I'll-
The health and safety inspection, so we would just receive and file that as well. Okay, so I'll put a motion to receive and file the joint health and safety.
I'll second that. And if there was anything on there that was concerning, then we'll ask a question, but it was good, so.
So we have the fire report. Let's move to-
No.
Usually,
it
the
gives-
fire chief would go through that.
Okay,
give
so
some
everybody
detail.
can hear it.
What's that? Okay, as far as our volunteers, we try to hold our own. A couple of them are gonna be heading out. Moving another path, one moving away. I have recently brought some more on for recruits. Just 4 started last night. And I think we're up to we're seven in total right now for recruits. We'll see how they make out. I have spoke to the 3 recruits that we had previous, that if they cannot get closer to the village or be a responder, that they'll be let go. So I'm aware of that. It has been a busy November and December for the fire department. We've done more calls than average. Last year, we we're at 117, 120, we're at 150 now for 2022, just the way of times. Some bridges take a lot of our time for sure, without about it. Community relations, Christmas in the village went extremely well. Appreciate the team of guys that's stood up, and the deputy that ran that show for me. I was away sick for that day. Christmas in the village, 39 Bickle was another big hit for the annual parade. Boy Drive, the young people that ran that did a great job also. The whole group of them, the whole department helped out. I think that was a great success. And we've had a few car seats again installed. I am surprised that the no Foggies received a call last week that how many other departments are doing car seats, which is kind of disturbing, but I had someone yesterday from Wyoming that came in to see if we could do it, which is not a problem. So, but I'm surprised that not everyone stepped up.
I
on that.
appreciate the service myself. I've been in more than once for assistance.
Other than that, for the department, we were off for the month of December for training. We still did our truck checks and equipment. So we're back at it last night, starting out. We'll be in medical training for the whole month of January. And then we'll proceed on for firefighter training from that point on. For the rest of the time. Community management, the emergency management plan. Claudia, you want to speak on that?
Sure.
please?
So November was our exercise that we completed as part of our annual compliance, so that was done. And then December, there was the submission. We're planning for next year, which was supposed to take place pre-COVID, a basically countywide exercise involving laws, the drinking water emergency, and then each municipality takes that and builds it as their own emergency, and it's kind of a joint effort, so it's interesting and something we're looking forward to. So we've started planning for that already for this year. I've had one meeting so far with the team in this version of it. We've had some meetings prior to that. Prior to the predicted snowstorm there ahead of the holidays, there's a lot of pre-planning being done by a few of the county CMCs, the OPP was involved, MTO was involved in some of these calls, and just contingency planning, basically what happens if we shut the highway, the bridge, etc. Had some plans in place. Luckily, we didn't have to open any warming centers, but that storm did cause some issues for some areas, so it was a warranted exercise anyways. Yeah, I think that's all I have for the last 2 months. Highlights something.
Okay, perfect. As far as the exterior of the building, ongoing roof issues, I did have Gallery Roof come in to do a quote, so I have given that quote to CAO and Tina also. So they separated from the library and the fire hall, so that's in. The rescue truck went in for Daniel safety, everything was good. We have our rep coming for 1200 degrees coming on Thursday to start designing this truck. So that'll be our first formal meeting. We got a committee of people that will be there. And we'll start trying to put that together. So that'll start moving forward. So hopefully it's quicker than what it has been for previous years. Engine 1 was in for its service. Everything was good there. We removed the deck bolts from the old Unit 5 and traded obviously for the new one. That truck right now is in getting its lighting system put on it. Striping system has been put on it. Just so everyone's aware, that truck was originally going to be put in for my truck. Changed it, it's just going to be our support truck at the back, for basically the deputy's truck. I just feel that the amount of money that they wanted for a brand new lighting package and the striping was way out of the ballpark for what I was planning on spending. And so we reduced it, and it's going to be the support unit instead of my truck. My truck will be fine. And we should have that back next week, and that'll be all complete. Our annual SCBA flow testing inspection has been completed. No issues there. Generator's been also had its service. That's all good. I will give you a heads up here again. I did issue Tina. I don't know if I gave you that quote or not, Jim, for the SCBA's. I did put a number in, so you're aware of what's coming in a couple of years here. So huge money to replace our SCBA, which we do not have a choice of. The bottles are going to be done. Bottles are done, then packs. So it'll be 16 packs that'll have to be replaced, plus masks, plus bottles, plus spares, and it's a big expense. Health and safety, no concerns from the department. Everything was good there. We finally got all our bunker gear from 2021. That's hopefully that's going to improve now. Community feedback, excellent feedback, particularly our child and youth. Blue Water Health, obviously for the toy drive, and it doesn't stop. I mean, people were extremely happy, and it's great seeing that on Channel 6 when they're showing the open house with the Christmas in the Village. How many people were there and happy, and it went very well. So, really nice to see. We got a fire prevention meeting coming up in Brook, and our hotels are been all issued letters for January that we're coming in for their annual inspection. So they kind of get a heads up that we're coming and things that we'll be looking for, be ready for. So fellows will be starting that this month. all our hotels and casino and high-risk areas will be hopefully done by, open by February. Other than that, Deputy, has anything?
No, I think not that.
Does anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to say, just to reiterate that the event, Christmas in the Village, the piece at the fire hall was excellent. Hot chocolate was wonderful. But, people were just really happy to be there, and the kids were playing with the dummies and all the things that you had there for show, so it was really well received. And a lot of effort went in, it was a good turnout. And same like the parade that night, so they had to work Christmas in the Village, and then many of the same people were at the parade that night, so they were there like 5. And then the toy drive, it was started by someone else, who did, and everybody worked together, and then he was gone, and then somebody else picked it up to lead it, and it was probably stronger or the same, or
The community response. was
Yeah.
very good.
yeah, I was there when different people came to the door dropping things off. It's just amazing. So
Yeah, we had a large amount of
Yeah.
items that we dropped
Yeah.
off. Split up between the table.
plus you took food. Like I know I brought my food there for
Yeah, yeah.
the end of the Good Shepherd. They take it as a fire hall and then they deliver it. So you don't have to go to Sarnia. You can just do it your own. So appreciate all those efforts as we wrapped up the year.
Just open a
Yeah.
session for that.
Should be a resolution or a recommendation to receive and file.
Yeah,
For
receive, file
the
with chiefs.
So I'll make a motion to receive and file the
So moved.
And then we can go on to the next item.
so the open air, so we should open for discussion for that.
Yeah, like so what I've circulated the proposed bylaw and checklist that was circulated.
Yep, and all the public.
Through the social media, and then all the public comments that we received back. And I kind of separated them out. The first document is kind of the general comments received, and I removed any contact, like who
Yeah,
made
you
those
made them,
comments. And then the second public comment document is we had one resident who really did a lot of research, and so his was very
Yeah.
detailed and very specific, so I circulated that separately and just looking for direction. And I have spoken with legal counsel about this matter, and she's prepared to similar reviews for a number of different things. I just put it on her radar that we may be contacting her about it. So she's willing to, or she's the person, the firm we deal with that would help us with that if we so choose. So I guess if there's any direction at this point, or if there's any where you want us to go from here. And I think probably the right thing to do is, I guess if you have comments in your hand, and then I think the next step is probably to have the legal counsel.
Right.
And
That's
then
all.
we'll come to
Yeah,
council.
I just want to make sure, everyone's going to have input before she would look at it.
We can wait and do, yeah.
Which it seems like we might get, well, I shouldn't say it, we might get charged twice, but financial.
Yeah.
Give it to her when we
Get it
have
where
it.
we think we want it.
Yeah, and
So it
then,
should go to council before it goes to.
Right.
Right, okay.
And that's fine.
because we'll be paying for her time, so we should wait till we have our product that we're all agreeable to.
I think it's extremely important that time is taken and this is done right, because it is complex. It
Right,
is,
exactly.
it's gotta be done right. We have to get this so it's black and white, so it's simple for everyone to understand, and then if we do have to respond, it's very easy to support.
Well, I'm not sure how we're collecting all of our thoughts towards, like, things that need to be added. So I have an idea, Tim probably has an idea, everyone has an idea of what they want to add. how is the process to collect all that into
One document.
this draft document?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
It's just complicated. to
yeah,
do.
well, it's not, it's no different than anything
Yeah.
else. You can make your comments at a council meeting, you can send them out in an email to all council. I mean, it doesn't, the process is no different than any other process. The issue is complicated. I would
Mhm, yeah.
agree with that, but the process is no different. So if you want to make comments now, that's fine. If you want to send them out through email, to be dealt with at the council meeting, that's fine too. The ultimate decisions get made at the council meeting.
So look for your recommendation.
One thing I can do, maybe to help a little bit, I'm gonna see if I can notify any of the other fire chiefs in the area to see if they received complaints. Or what kind of complaints they have got, to see if we can get some kind of feedback, whether it is, smoke related, whether
Right.
it's too close, I don't know.
So you know.
I'll
the
just
touch-
ask that, at the-
Yeah, you know the touch points.
see if they can give me anything. And just to see if other people are getting calls. I don't hear them, but that doesn't mean that they're not there.
Well, you do your quarterly meetings anyway.
Yep.
So you can have it as an agenda item.
And my question, so the checklist, there's nothing in here to say what the fines would be. Do we assess that after? So if it's a
So-
second or third, are the fines progressive
Yeah.
or?
So the fines are in our fee bylaw. So there's no, so that's a question that's been asked by, actually by Deputy Mayor Grimes, it's addressed in there. So if you have a fine for something, you have to send it away to the provincial court to be approved. There's a process. And I mean, it's not, it's time consuming.
Yeah.
We have the right to say, okay, if such and such thing happens, there are fees for it. And we have the right to charge those fees. So to me, it's simpler to do it that way. To say in the bylaw that you are subject to, and the fees are $400 per hour per truck or something. I don't know exactly what the fee bylaw says off the top of my head, but that's how this bylaw deals with it, is refers you back to the fee. So that you can, if you have a fire and the fire department is required to come out and extinguish a fire, the fee for that is X. So there's no fine,
Okay.
but there is a fee.
So we would be reviewing that at this time as well.
We review our fees every year, like
Yeah.
that fee bylaw is reviewed every year in the fall.
And we
So that was
just did it.
done in October or November. So
I just
that-
want to make it sure it's clear for the fire department, so it's not an arbitrary and that's there, and then it's up to their discretion.
I mean, ultimately, that's why you put the checklist in place. If you want to remove discretion, I mean, Mr. Wolf talks about having very clear guidelines, but then he talks about having discretion for the chief in terms of setbacks and such. You can't have both. It's either got to be very clear and you follow this, and if it fits this, good. If it doesn't, it's a problem. It's very difficult to do both. And so the bylaw and the checklist say that it's these fees that you pay, and to me, the bylaw is pretty clear that way. But if it needs to be clarified, maybe it's just more clear to me because I'm the one that
Yes.
did the thought process, and if it's not clear to others, then we need to change it. That's fine. We need to improve it. I agree, the more clear it is, the better, so.
And making it clear so that it's not up to the chief to have to go this way or that. I don't want him in the middle of it. Like it's, again, we talked about giving him the tools, so it's all defined. And it's not up to his discretion. as
Because
much
the
as
police will
possible.
be involved.
Right,
If I've got to go to someone's residence, and I've got to extinguish the fire, or whatever I may have to do, they're not gonna be happy. The police will probably be notified to attend. Checklist, I don't have a problem with anybody, anywhere. They're not following what we are putting in place. I got no problem telling them, as long as it's in,
but you want it. in
Black and
writing,
white,
That's all I
and
can.
there is
Yeah,
no argument.
Yeah.
You can't, that's the end of it. And most people have been really good for us for when we attend and talk to them. Because we always try to start out, sometimes it's a learning curve for some people, new, and then other people, it's an ongoing thing, so. Most people have been really good. for us.
so I don't know if I should put mine in in writing and to
So we give all council like a timeline of when they can submit their comments to, and then that way you can compile them all
Yeah.
and then present them at council.
That would be fine.
Yeah, because we've already done the public, but we didn't do ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's sort of haphazard when we got this and then our whole council is in a committee.
Yeah. So do you want me to put a recommendation forward that we set a timeline out for council to make email submissions on the bylaw?
And that should, like, if we want to consider this next council meeting, I should have councilors' comments by next Wednesday. So that'd be the 18th.
Okay,
So that would be my recommendation.
yeah, okay. All right. And I'll second that recommendation.
So then, I'm gonna move that the financial statements for the fire committee for the period ending December 31st, 2022 be received and filed.
So,
All right, so our next,
I just do want to note that those are not final. Statements. I know it says it, but I just want to make it clear that we have invoices come in probably till early February that would be for 2022. So they're not finalized, and then, then they're not audited for until later in the years.
okay, and then the next meeting for the fire committee will be held on February 14th at 8:30 a.m. And so I will move for adjournment.